It was a tour. Let's just say that. No fancy like lead-ins. There's nothing really. There's no fancy place to start other than to just throw out first and foremost which runs stick in your memory. In particular, when I first mentioned the Wherever I May Roam tour, the Black Album tour.
I can pick out shows, and then you could say that was from that certain one. I don't know if I could tie that thing to that thing, but I know that right early on, the day on the green, the Bill Graham's last show in Oakland with Soundgarden and Faith No More, dude, we were on all cylinders and a couple extra. That was just, whoa. And MTV was there, and they had all their cameras going, and it sounded killer, and they projected that over the TV and stuff. Man, it sounded killer on TV. Bass was so big and heavy. It was awesome. So I remember that moment, because that was like a fucking launch, man. Once we proved to everybody at home, like that was a culmination. It truly was, because it was a couple of years, and the boys went away and they came back and they showed everybody what they were made of after going around the world a few times. And we're still strong without Cliff, and we could still do it for him and all these things, and that, because that's the vibe there. And it was like the foundation put in stone for us to go and do whatever other extra somewhat crazy travels sometimes to make the rest of the shows happen for that tour. And the Pacific Rim stuff, so I guess that is leg. Australia and and Indonesia for the first time, and that was mental. Okay,
Are you talking about the time when you had to do a dummy run out because there was just absolutely going busy? I mean, as I remember correctly,
fires, everything, the fires.
Right, as I remember correctly, I think it was Tony Smith at that time had taken over things. If I remember correctly, I think it was right around then anyway. But I know that you had to develop a dummy vehicle, right, to get you out of there. Right,
That's right.
It was like a decoy or something. I remember that whole thing. Yeah, that would have been insane for sure. Sorry, no, you should continue.
I was just going to say that element really came into play a lot of places that we went, because we were going to a lot of places for the first time that had been exposed to our kind of music. A bunch of other bands had already been there of different, more quiet stuff and everything, but not what we were doing, and the effect it had on people. Just, maybe Maiden had went a little while ago, or AC/DC, but some of them nobody had been to yet.
That's an interesting point. Let me hold you to that for a minute. So, I mean, because I had even forgotten that. I mean, we think about like Southeast Asia touring and so on and so forth being very commonplace. But yeah, you're right. I mean, heavy music was not a part of the wider international touring circle outside, like, Europe and North America, right? South America. But that was kind of it. Yeah. So
anybody that had a global, what was recognized as a global performer would be UB40, Bob Marley, Diana Ross.
So Maiden probably would have been, as you say, the first, but they never quite. They had the genre appeal and massive. I mean, this is in no way a comment that I mean, Iron Maiden speak for themselves. They certainly don't need me to tell the world how big they are, even though I just have again. But Metallica was taking it at a whole other level. I mean, you're going into these places off the back of enormous airplay, so you're getting fans that aren't just metalheads, right? I mean, you're getting just people who are there for the event. Yeah.
So in that same sense we were just talking about, so AC/DC, they are the biggest rock band of all time. They're from Australia. Iron Maiden from Britain. We were the first, and still only, American heavy metal band to do the things that we did. Hands down. Slayer went there and they did that. Anthrax went there, usually in support, and did that. But no American band, heavy-wise, has done what Metallica did. So that, that has to be added in this conversation, because we were piecing together. We were in the wake of AC/DC. We were in the wake of Iron Maiden, but we were from America doing our own thing still.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I think that, there's obviously one show that, springs to mind in everyone's memory of this entire era, and it happened fairly early on, relatively speaking. Yeah. Talking about Moscow, 1991 at the Tushino Airfield, September 28th. Depending on who you listen to, there are either hundreds of thousands of people or over 1 million. I mean, look, call me old fashioned, but anything over 75 and I'm smitten, right? So, I mean, everything over 75,000 people, and that's a lot of people.
You know, man, how things get embellished and the story gets told after a while. You started out where the fish was about that big, right? You know?
Yes.
Yeah. It was a shark.
It was a big fish. I mean, at the very least, it was a shark. Even if it wasn't a full grey whale, it was still even a small whale, right? This was a huge gig. And talk us through your memories.
Like when you say the 75 or whatever. So I marked my thing after my, whatever you want to call it, experiences and arrogant ass or whatever. But now I when I can't see the horizon because I see people's heads, that's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. That's a lot of people. And what's the vibe coming off that crowd? Is it something that you've never experienced before? Your personal recollection? I mean, you know, at this point, your enthusiasm's high, but you're, you know, by your own admission, feeling a lot more comfortable, a lot more part of everything. And certainly when it comes to the live side, I think you're stalking that stage. Like, you know, you own a firm corner of that stage.
Yeah. Found my live. I definitely had my place. I found my place. That was my forte. Everybody relied on it that way. That's what the guys looked to me for, you know, and it was my absolute life, passion, everything, of course, is taken for people. So we did have a couple of experiences, a little bit we talked about before. We had a couple of things beyond the Eastern Bloc. We played before the wall came down. There's, you know, Romanias and these kind of things were a little bit sketchy in parts of Poland. And you know, you learn, you see some of the deprivation, poverty, and that's affecting on you. But once the show gets going, the people show up and they're there. It wouldn't have mattered if you were in Toledo. You know, it's the same reason that we're there together and the same enthusiasm to hear and feel the music and be part of the band coming, you know, from this way, everybody being part of it. We'd experienced that in some pretty makeshift, shady kind of places. So by the time we got to Moscow, we knew what Eastern Bloc looked like. We knew what Gray Skies and Gray Meat looked like. We know what, you know, this stuff. But it was such a gigantic thing, mostly, now that I hear myself say it, be made to feel so special. It was a convenient, in a way, thing for the powers that be that were planning it and getting it organized with the government, that we were out supporting AC/DC in the Eastern Bloc when this idea came up. Well, I mean, the people did the coup and everything, so idea, but it was something that was trying to be remedied with fucking heavy American rock music, right? This gigantic fucking governmental historic thing that's going to go down in history book forever and ever, world history. We were called to come and save the day. Really. But Metallica and AC/DC were out together already. It was convenient for Time Warner to say, well, the kids wanted Guns N' Roses and Metallica. That's the first names that came out of their mouths. When the leader of the kids stood up and the prime minister says, how can we repay you? How can we reward you for what you've done? We want AC/DC, we want Metallica and we want Guns N' Roses. With the two, they said. And they said, well, Guns N' Roses is wherever the hell they are. And AC/DC and Metallica are right over the border, right over there. So, and Black Crowes are right over there, and Pantera's in Texas, and they'll fucking swim over, you know. So, got all that thing together, put on that gigantic Time Warner plane. We've been on some nice crafts and stuff, right? We had been, but fuck, man, the room is on the lounge is as big as the room I'm in right now, and there's couches the same size that are in this room right here on the plane. And there's Angus and Malky and all of us together on the same fucking plane going to do this thing. And I still got posters of Angus on my wall at the house I live in while I'm on the plane with him. Holy shit, man, to be made feel that special to go and do this thing. And then that we were once again very powerful and very confident about our show and our new songs and everything and our record. And we've been playing on the radio across all countries. You know, at one point, Nothing Else Matters number one in 35 countries or some shit. Or you guys get 6 more weeks of shows because it just went number 1 in, you know, over there, Bolivia or something. Like, cool. You know, just that. But that's the kind of things that were happening. Like you're saying, could you expect it? How did you know? How could you predict it? Those kind of things could not be predicted. And going into this show with such expectations, knowing that customs are going to be weird, knowing how the money thing is and the poverty is in these places. Witnessing it all firsthand, having the dressing rooms are Green Army tents. There's military everywhere. We're put in a hotel that's 3,000 rooms, and it looks like a gray penitentiary, really, and a room. Because we each got, I remember Big Mick was he had a room, his room was as big as mine, right? And we just had these fucking gigantic rooms, and they were $4 for a room. And we went down for the suite, and we went down to the bar to get with the Black Crowes guys and stuff, and having a drink, and ordered a Heineken. Yeah, $8.
So the beer was twice as much as the room.
One bottle of beer was twice as much as the room. And
you couldn't even fit in the bottle.
And right, and Mick's talking about, he comes down, there's fucking cockroaches this big carrying my shoes away. Like this guy. It was crazy, dude. But just let your mind go with that for a second. $4 for a suite in a big hotel proper. $8 for a beer. No wonder shit's crazy out on the street, man. I mean, if that's what's happening in this hotel, right? So that kind of perspective, going out and seeing it, and then once it all came down, I mean, Pantera was on stage at 10 in the morning. That film that you see, the fog's still coming off the grass at 10 o'clock in the morning, and they did that. Primal Concrete Sledge and all that shit, man. Just like, here's American fucking metal. You want some? Here you go, boys. Like that. They came out swinging. I still watch that video. I still do. When Phil puts on that fucking mask, pulls back that devil mask. He is fucking sick, man. And Dime, damn, dude, beautiful. But once the crowd started going, and the things that you've seen on the film, and the stories that you've heard about the soldiers beating up the kids, and the fights, and the deaths, and the births, and all these things, it was quite an experience. I remember being terrified. We did 35 or 36 shows with AC/DC on that run right there. And so I watch him every damn night, dude. I could get up on the side right by the monitor guy and watch Angus this close. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, okay, I'll do it. Right? So I've been watching him. So then we get to the Russian thing, and I can't go on the stage to watch him. They got some other thing going, a secure thing like that. So you got to go back by Mick and back in there. And that's through the crowd. And I always had a thing where I tuck my shit up and put my hat on, glasses, and nerd shirt and whatever, and go out and try to hang out with the people and just not get recognized, So when we start thinking, I might let my mind go with it. I'm like,
how am I going to get home?
We need to go that way, you guys, before they do the whole thing at rock. What is it? We salute you. That thing. Got to get the fuck in there before that happens. And so we made our way back through, behind the toilets, find a way all the way out, a wide angle, probably 3/4 of a mile or so before we came back to the dressing room tent. And then they start telling us reports. It's the 6th largest city in Russia today, and it's this and that, and we've had 6 births, and we've had 11 deaths, and we've had all, and like, fuck, what? But there's not the regular thing. There might be a hot dog stand, there might be a this, and there might be a that, and even our grub was, I remember eating a lot of packaged food and everything. I made sure, we all made sure shit was wrapped, came in wrapped, and ate whatever it was,
Yeah, crazy.
No way, trying to be getting picky.
That's crazy. Let's talk about the way that the set obviously was, came together for those shows for a few years. You've got a whole new range of material in terms of this material with swing that's a little shorter. I mean, not that Metallica's ever written super short songs, but you've got your Sad But Trues, as you say. You've got your Unforgivens even. You've got your Enter Sandman. There's a little more groove and pump, a little more of a segue between specialist, whatever you want to call it, like fan driven stuff, and universal appeal, I guess, is what I'm saying. And as you're playing this material, as you're feeling your way into it during this tour, what are you noticing about your performance? What are you noticing about your performance as a player? Your connection with the audiences that are coming. What difference are these songs making to those relationships?
The overall demand of what the demands of it physically, length of show, once the stage took up the whole basketball arena, all those kind of things that in itself delegated what you were going to do for the day and how your relationships became with anything. So we all are really watching what we eat. We have our own workout routines. Lars is running, Kirk is yogaing, I'm weightlifting, riding my bike, got my bike on tour, all these things. We know that we have to be up to that standard to be what people expect, because this is fucking hype. You're going to back up all of this attention, and everybody knew it, right? So as the show went on, you get 100 shows, you get 200 shows, and you come, after a while, I don't want to say it becomes the Broadway thing, but everybody know, well, almost every time you knew where the explosions were, and know where the stage thing and this and that, and you start deciding like that bass for those two songs, and I do this and I go that back, and there's 9 vocal mics for me to figure out where I'm going to be for which thing. And relationship with the vocal, relationship with backing up James's vocal, relationship with lead vocal on my own out in front of all these people. So these relationships come to be a front man for 5 minutes and a front man for 4 minutes over here, that thing, a new way to see myself, and having to make sure that when we play Battery or Fight Fire as the last song, that I still got enough to give that I did at the top of the intro saying, the end of Battery still has to go fuck, so that I leave it all on the stage, leave every bit there. But I know I pace myself through the show. Do that, give it all there. There, vocal, calm down. There, rest, calm down. Solo, boom, boom, fucking fire off. That's what it got down. That's a relationship of managing your time on stage, of your performance, and always knowing what's coming next. Always being aware of your surroundings, fans, fire, drumsticks, all of it, being aware what's happening, shit flying through the air when you're playing stuff. You become hyper aware of everything. Even when you're doing like that the whole fucking time, you're still able to pick up shit. You still become like your senses go out, like Spidey sense.
Is it like, I always assume that when you're in full flow like that, it's sort of like a top level sports team. It's sort of like what the Bulls were doing at the height of their time. It's maybe like what the New England Patriots were doing at the height of their time. And you're just in a groove and you're in a rhythm, and and is that how it was? Is that how it felt? Did you ever feel fatigued? Did you allow yourself to feel fatigued? Would you allow that to creep into your psychology?
We were confident enough with each other that guy gets the ball for that shot at that time. That guy gets the ball for that shot. We know he's going to make it. So that type of thing definitely worked in the interaction of the band on the stage, no matter if we were all playing at the same time or there was a solo or whatever, these kind of things. So that definitely played like a sports team. And the deep down tiredness, not a lot of, a number of people, but not a lot of people have experienced it like that, for real. Because there just haven't really been that many tours that went that long with that kind of demand for that many countries, for that many people. Just not that many. There's not a whole lot you can list and say, those guys did 300 shows in a row and all that stuff. Not very many people did that. That's a really good thing about allowing yourself to be tired. That's a perfect question. Perfect. You couldn't allow yourself to look tired, even though you were fucking shot. You could not allow the people to see it or your boys to see it. You don't ever want to be the weak link. The unspoken law of Metallica for so long, it always was and probably still is. Nobody ever wants to be seen as the weak link. You don't want to be that one. So I think between all of that, all of us found our ways to get re-inspired each day and whatever, motivated, self-discipline, motivation from others. Like I always said, though, man, you could have a broken leg, and you get up there and the ecstasy of gold comes on and you hear as soon as it ends, that word, and you, like that, dude. Right now, when I just did that, right now, marathon time. My body just covered with bumps, just imagining it. Right. So when you get that dose, right, when your pituitary and your all that shit that goes on, right, when you get that adrenaline dose, it's, but what's it, Pulp Fiction shit, right? In the fucking heart, man. Every time that shot right in the heart, just like that. So you forget that you're tired when the jams are going on.